What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. This may look like a retro ramble today, but it's actually not, as you can see by the date down there in the bottom. This is a brand new game in a retro arcade style, and though it's a little bit basic in terms of the types of options and features it provides, I think it's pretty cool, and the price is right too, so I wanted to show it off to you guys. So this is Hop Top, and while if you look at this title screen, you're instantly going to get some 16-bit vibes, you know, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Mega Drive, that kind of deal. And it does have that. It is the main meat of it, I guess you'd say, is in that style, but it has a couple of different styles involved here. And the best way to describe this game is if you took something like Bubble Bobble and mashed it up with Galaga, something like that, I'm going to say. So the options are a little bit basic here. Interestingly enough, this is a vertically oriented game, but it doesn't have a rotation mode, like a Tate mode, to allow you to take to rotate your monitor and get a better view of it. Little bit odd. I hope they add that at some point. There's probably ways you could do this using your display driver software and stuff, but having something built in it would be a little bit better. And it does do window sizes, you know, up to my monitor's native resolution, which is nice. You don't always get that in games like this. And it's only got 3 modes. You've got Campaign, Endless, and Arcade. And Campaign and Arcade are where the styles vary. Each of these modes also has a high score in it, but it is local high scores only. There's no online leaderboards, no replays, nothing like that. At time of recording, this game on Steam doesn't even have achievements in it. So like I said, it's light on the modern day features, but in terms of a core game, it's pretty cool and it's got some addictive elements to it. So we'll start with the campaign mode first. This is the more 16-bit inspired mode. So you're playing this little character named Hop. He lost his wings. You got to scale the tower to get him back. That's basically, that's the bulk of it here. So here we go. And well, the gameplay is quite simple. You hop automatically, and you have to try to shoot the enemies and take out the waves quickly enough that you can continue progressing upwards and eventually clear each sort of milestone stage, if you will, to move on. So the concept is quite simple. It's basically a single button type deal. And you're going to see right away where I say this has Bubble Bobble meets Galaga vibes, right? Now, Bubble Bobble, you didn't jump automatically, obviously, but and you do that here, but it still feels a lot like that to me. And the Galaga is pretty much obvious. You're going to be dealing with waves of different enemies who have different traits and abilities, and who will eventually start to come down on you in waves if you wait too long to take them out. And of course, you have an opportunity to take them out as they're forming their patterns on the screen there. Now, you also saw that little platform I dropped on there that had sort of a power-up thing on it. Those power-ups are very limited, but they give you the ability to clear out, there's multiple different ones, and they give you the ability to clear out large groups of enemies pretty fast. And that will come in very handy at different points in your progression as well. You also saw that there was a balloon down there. You can pick those up and collect them. I'm actually not 100% sure what those do. I think it might just be for score bonus. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to do anything to my actual gameplay here. So I picked one up there. And as you're seeing, as you're jumping up, the levels get more complicated. You have these rotating spike platforms. You have other platforms that will crumble under your feet. And you die, of course, by either getting hit by one of the enemies or by losing your footing and falling off the edge of the level. It only scrolls up. It doesn't scroll back down. And if you take too long to take out a particular wave of enemies, this big bugger shows up and tries his darndest to wreck your day. That's kind of the way it is. Those are actually my least favorite enemies, those ones that sort of shoot vertically, because you gotta really try to line up against them. And you can see, yeah, that guy, I don't like that guy very much. And there is a high score table in every level. You can continue. You can only continue, so each of these main stages that you're trying to go through is 10 rounds. Continuing resets your score, but it only takes you back to the main stage that you've completed. So because I hadn't yet completed 10 rounds, I'm starting back at the beginning anyway, so it doesn't really matter, right? It does show the high score at the top, which is pretty gnarly. 100 grand is no slouch to attain in this game. but the leaderboards are the local leaderboards are they're leaderboards. That's only the top entry, so you can place yourself on the boards without necessarily having to beat the top score. I have gotten to almost the 20th stage in this. As I said before, this feels like a proper arcade game in that even though you're not feeding quarters into it, it pulls no punches. It's going to challenge you, kind of like a lot of the stuff from Pixel Games that I've talked about on the channel recently, like Donut Dodo and Cash Cow DX, things like that. This is a game that doesn't pull any punches, and it will challenge you. It requires you to learn its mechanics, to master them, and it demands that you to do really well at it. You got to practice and get good. This is not a game that will hold your hand. That much is for sure. Which is really how proper, a game designed after old school arcade principles. That's how it should be, in my humble opinion. So, I don't mind that. Very much. So this campaign has these sections that you have to go through as you try to get through this story. It's an arcade game story. It's, narrative is not the point here. That's not why we're playing this. So, but I like it. I think it's a cool little fusion of two different classic arcade titles that takes the ideas of two things that came before it, but makes it something different. And that's what I've always liked. Is things like that. Like when I did my video on Lamasoft, the Jeff Minter story, I talked about how a lot of Jeff Minter's games are very clearly inspired by other things that he didn't make, and in many ways his games look very familiar. But what I always respected about him was the unique spin he put on everything to make it his own and make it feel like it was something different, and that's what this one does too. Which I really like. I think this combination of Bubble Bobble and Galaga is really interesting and is definitely very addictive. You saw that those two games I went through, wasn't terribly successful at them, but I went through them quickly. And you can start them up again right away. This game will run in a potato. There's no load time, so you can jump right back into things, right, and get going on it, which is kind of cool. So this is the arcade game, or the arcade mode. I don't really know much about the history of this. I don't know if they always intended to have two different modes that look very different. This is more of like an 8-bit arcade machine, as you can see by this startup here, which I think is pretty neat. I don't know if, see, this one says 1982, so which is obviously a joke. But I don't know if this game, or if this mode was made to be included in this package, or maybe this was sort of the original idea for this game that was released in another form, and then they made the 16-bit campaign mode later and included this. Honestly, I'm not sure. But this plays very much the same way, but as you can see, has a completely different, wholly 8-bit vibe to it, and I think that's super cool. I like the fact that they either made the effort to make a completely different mode and a completely different art style, or they just included something that they made in the past as well, which either way, that's a neat thing that I appreciate them doing. So if you want to play this in very much more of a Namco 8-bit arcade machine kind of style, here you have it. And it plays very much the same. I think this mode might actually be a little bit more difficult, but it's all the same mechanics, right? You're bouncing up, the green platforms come down under your feet, there are power-ups that you can pick up that do other things, though I will say they seem, well, maybe not. I was going to say they seem to feel like they last a little bit longer, but maybe not. You've got the balloons, you've got the whole, it's the whole bit. So it's the same idea, but there's no... This is the arcade mode, which is just, there's no story beats in this. I mean, the story beats in the campaign mode are very small, right? It's not like you're going to have to be devoting a long time to learning the rich narrative and universe to play that mode. But this is just the game with none of that story stuff bolted on, and obviously this different style. So, yeah, I appreciate it. I like it. It's got its own set of leaderboards, though it looks like the scoring system is pretty much the same. So I think if you can do well at one mode, you'll probably do fine at the other mode too, right? It's that kind of idea. But I like it. They did different music, they did different graphics, the whole bit, which is cool. And then on top of that, you have an endless mode, and this is what's cool. is the endless mode can take place in any of the 4 stages from the main campaign, which are I didn't mention this earlier, they're their own complete graphical skins and environments. So this is stage 3, and even if you haven't actually reached those stages in the campaign yet, this is available to you right out the gate. Nothing is blocked away, which I appreciate. I think that's kind of cool. And so you can actually have an opportunity, because each stage has some of its own challenges. You may have noticed there, the keen-eyed of you may have noticed that there was a series of blocks there that only sort of became solid if I hit them in certain orders, that kind of deal. So each of the stages has their own little different mechanics to them, and you get to sort of learn those by doing this. So you see there was a 1, 2, 3 there, there's the 4. So little things like that. And by getting access to the endless mode early, this or by getting access to the endless mode right out of the gate, I should say, this allows you to experience those mechanics and learn them before you get to them in the campaign. Given that it's quite a grind to get to the later levels in the campaign, and that there's no saves in this, so if you choose to stop playing and stop continuing, well, you're gonna have to start all over again. So this is a good way to get some practice in. I appreciate that. So I think that's another cool little addition, right? So yeah, it's a simple package. It is, but whoops, shoot. Yeah, it is a simple package, but I like the presentation. I like the fact that they really tried to emulate the. And I know this said endless, and you might just be like, wait, it ended. Well, it's endless in the sense that, there we go. It's endless in the sense that the stage doesn't end. So you can play that, you still have lives, and you still play it like the campaign, but the stage will, it's not 10 rounds and the stage is over. It's you keep playing until you run out of lives, however long that might take, right? That's more the idea behind that. So just so you guys are aware. And yeah, it's a simple package, but it's nicely put together. It's got the 3 main modes that you'd really want out of something like this. And it's really cheap. That's the thing. You can get in on this for very little and have a good time with it. It's fun, it's addictive, it's simple to learn, definitely hard to master, and will really, it will really challenge you, but will also really satisfy you when you master its challenges. Online leaderboards in a game that costs this little is a lot to ask. I mean, I'll always say that would be nice, but I get the point behind it. I do think that online leaderboards and replays are not explicitly necessary. I kind of think every game should have Steam achievements, simply because it's free to do. It's built into Steam's API, so I think some Steam achievements would be nice for and like it or not, there are people out there who consider achievements important and won't buy games that don't have them. So it might be a good way to get a few more sales into this. So I hope they do implement those at some point. But this would be a great portable game as well. Obviously it would run on a Steam Deck without batting an eye. The lack of the Tate mode is too bad too. That's something I'd love to see patched in. So again, people with rotating monitors, or who maybe want to run this in a home arcade machine, or even just run it on a Steam Deck and be able to have the best view of it by turning their Steam Deck sideways, that would be a really nice addition. And I ain't no programmer, but I would think relatively simple to implement. So little things like that would be nice, but you know what? Maybe they'll patch those in at some point too. I find a lot of devs of these small arcade titles like this tend to be really good about that, about updating their games over time and responding to community feedback and adding little things in like that. So hopefully they'll do that. But really, you've seen what this has to offer. Yeah, it's basic, but it's a fun, addictively designed title that does a cool thing by mashing 2 other titles together. It does a fantastic job of emulating the arcade 8 and 16-bit arcade platforms that they're trying to look like here. I think they did a superb job with that. It plays well, the controls are really good, and if you're into this little sort of mini revival of arcade style games that we seem to be getting on PC these days, it's a great one of these. You know, if you like the recent stuff that Pixel Games has put out, or some of the other titles like that, give this a look. I think you could have some fun with it. So yeah, that is it Mop? My God, I'm so sorry. I forgot about that. That is Hop Top. My God, I'm so sorry about that. I totally blanked. But it's out now. It's cheap and cheerful and a good time. And yeah, modern retro arcade fans, grab it and play it. I think you'll enjoy it. So, and you know, support the cause. Hopefully we get to see more of these and more people do that. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. Those do help out a great deal. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, does this interest you? You know, are there other mashups that would interest you like that? What are some other modern retro arcade titles that have come out lately? There's been quite a few, and I have not covered nearly all of them. What are some that interest you? Because there's plenty of them, and I want to check them all out and own them all eventually, because there's so many good things coming out now. Another little genre I love. And you can also drop me a follow over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction. Streams are on hiatus for the moment, but they are going to be coming back when my schedule frees up a bit. Going to be playing a lot of retro stuff there for a while, tackling what I call the deep backlog, and we have a great little community there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you on the next Indie Ramble. Folks, have yourselves a good one. Take it easy.